Welcome to part 2 of our journey up the legendary Sani Pass behind the wheel of two very special limited edition Land Rover Defenders.
The Heritage and Adventure Edition models might look quite different, but they share exactly the same drivetrain. It's a 2.2-litre four-cylinder engine producing a rather disappointing 90 kilowatts of maximum power, but at least linked to 360 newton-meters of torque. The drivetrain has a 6-speed manual gearbox and, of course, a transfer case with low range, as well as lockable diffs, which means that these vehicles are meant to go just about anywhere, even if it's going to be at a rather slow pace.
Indeed, with well over 1.7 tons to contend with, neither of these Defenders was built to break any speed records. They say that your perception of your surroundings changes behind the wheel of a Landy. You see more because you're going so slowly. But despite its modest power, the Defender will actually cruise at the legal limit, although it takes some planning to maintain momentum, let alone overtake other traffic. But take the Defender off the beaten track and statistics such as 0 to 100 acceleration times and top speeds become completely academic. Here it's all about traction, wheel travel and low-down grunt.
Trying to describe what the drive is like in a Land Rover Defender to anyone who hasn't actually been in a Land Rover Defender is a bit of a difficult job. But I will say that by modern standards it is terrible. The steering is vague, the suspension is bouncy, it rattles. And even though this car is moderately well spec'd, it does subscribe a little bit to a 1970s model of what comfortable driving should be. So getting to your off-road destination is a bit of a trial, but once you're there and you're actually on the dirt, this car really comes into its own, and it feels almost unstoppable in all kinds of off-road conditions. And that's especially true of the 90, which has the added benefit of a short wheelbase. It's certainly true that both Defenders felt very much at home as we wound our way up Sani Pass. They took the rutted surface, rocky sections and even the tight switchbacks in their stride, always feeling sure-footed, while the turbodiesels shrugged off the effects of the 2,867-metre altitude at the Lesotho border post. The Defender deserves its legendary status, and it'll be tough for Land Rover to come up with a truly worthy successor. But then nobody would have believed that the original would last this long either.
Well, we've had a good opportunity to try out both the Heritage and the Adventure editions, and the question now is which one we prefer.
Well, if I know you, I think you'll go for the Heritage because you're a little bit more old school. But I think it depends what application you want. If you're serious about going off-roading, you'd have to go for the Adventure because it is better kitted.
And also, let's not forget that there are far fewer of those around. So if you're considering it from an investment perspective, there's also that angle to think about.
But the Heritage Edition has got a really nice, nostalgic, classic Land Rover feel to it. And there's something about that car that I really like.
Yeah, I think that goes for both. Somehow, that's the vehicle you want to park in your garage, keep it, trot it out on a Sunday, come out to Sani Pass, drive it like it was meant to be.
Because it can take it.
Because it can, absolutely. And yeah, it's just going to be maybe the car that is truer to the Heritage.
But now the question is, what else do you take besides a Defender? These cars are all sold, there are no more. What are the other options in that kind of class?
Right now, I mean, your only option really would be to look for a good used Defender, but I think people are going to start hanging on to those. Otherwise, you've got to look at alternatives. Maybe the most obvious rival is the Jeep Wrangler.
Yep, it's got a similar sort of heritage. It's got the ability to take off-road conditions. But then, I suppose your next option would be something like an off-road Bucky.
Yeah, or maybe one of the more compact Land Cruisers, like the 70 specifically. But I think a lot of people will end up having to go the Bucky route because at least you get the versatility of that load bed as well.
The final option, of course, is to wait for the new Defender, and who knows when that's coming.
Exactly. I mean, can we be that patient?
Well, let's hope the next generation Defender does the legend proud.
A modest drivetrain places the emphasis on torque rather than outright power and makes full use of a low-range transfer case and lockable diffs to deliver impeccable off-road capability. In a Defender, it's not about how fast you get there, but about being able to get to places where very few other vehicles can. These limited edition models represent a worthy and collectible farewell to a 4x4 legend.